The stock market should have collapsed a long time ago, but central banks and governments around the world are printing trillions upon trillions of dollars in order to support their stock markets. I'm going to go over information today that is public, that is available to you right now, that will show exactly how this is the case. I'm going to reveal to you how central banks are buying S&P shares and others. Let's get into it right away. It's settled. Central banks trade S&P 500 futures. You can read this whole article for yourself. I just want to cover this one point. It says, we now know with certainty and beyond merely speculation that central banks around the world trade, and by trade we mean buy, S&P 500 futures such as the E-mini in both futures and option forms, full size, micro, and as well-known central bank trading and interest rates, TSY and FX products. So there's a lot of jargon there. Essentially what they're saying is that they're buying shares of the stock market in order to prop up this system. Now, not only are they buying those shares, there's actually incentive programs. This is right from the CFTC.gov website. You can see it here for yourself. The CME Group, modifications to the central bank incentive program. And let's get into one of the things that they say here. One of the things that they have, COMEX products. This is very interesting. Metals futures contracts in brackets physicals on the CME Globex. They are given incentives in order to buy some of these things, and one of those things is the metals futures contracts. Pretty interesting for those individuals who pay attention to that. And let's go on into more things. Now, what does this lead into? And that is this. You have the US having the highest corporate income tax rate in the industrialized world, by far the highest. What does that do? It pushes businesses out of the country, and you've seen that as there are trillions upon trillions of untaxed profits laying outside the country, which will never come back in. And why? Because the US is dead. The economy is dead. In fact, all the Western nations have pushed their production basically offshore into the third world, and this has allowed the big mega corporations to profit, but at the same time hurting the individual citizen who can't find good work. Now, why in the world is the stock market up? Let's get into some of those real reasons right now. I'm going to go through three charts here. Stocks are at record highs because the global growth is, quote, improving. So you could see the MSCI World Stocks continuously going up here. At the same time, you have the 2014 world GDP expectations going down, and significantly. They're actually quite the opposite right now. Doesn't make a single ounce of sense. Why? It's because the central banks are buying up the shares. Institutional investors aren't even buying them anymore at such a rate that they were previously. Let's go into this right here. Stocks are at record highs because employment is, quote, improving. However, when you look at the reality, the employed population has significantly declined since the beginning of around the year 2000 or so. It has never come back up since, but that's something that the mainstream media and the government simply will not talk about. And one more chart, I just scroll down here. Stocks are at record highs because animal spirits are, quote, improving. Yet, you can see that the rich to middle class divide is greater than it has been in the beginning of the chart shows the 90s there. And you can see the reality of the situation, that the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. And that's just the way it is, because you cannot change this system. Now, there might be one more chart here. Yes, that is right. Stocks are at record highs because of the Fed. It is absolutely obvious right here. That's going into one of the first things I had said at the beginning. When you have central banks buying up these stocks because they're getting incentives to do so, they will surely do so for the time being. And you can see the Fed's balance sheet and the S&P are directly correlated. Over $4 trillion on the balance sheet that we're aware of, and it corresponds directly with the S&P's rise. As soon as the Fed pulls out from their balance balance sheet, you're going to have a crash in the system. When you have the interest rates rising, you're going to have a crash in the system. They are directly correlated. The Fed and other central banks around the world are propping up the stock markets. This is not being covered by the mainstream media. This is an unequivocal fact. Look at this right here. You want to talk about facts. This is the U3 versus the U6 using the BLS as the source. This is from my book showing you. You want to use the government's own statistics to defeat them. You can see the U6 being the unemployment rate that they publicly give out, just not the one they show you in the mainstream media. And this is individuals who can't find work for a year. They just wipe them off the unemployment statistics. And of course, what does this do? It shows you the fraud that is out there. And this is the kind of thing that you need to look at, the real charts, the real statistics that they're simply not going to cover. It shows you the crash. And this has been revealed right here that the S&P is being pushed up by the Federal Reserve, by the other central banks around the world, given incentive programs to do so. This is no different than a bailout. It is no different than the TARP type bailout systems that they've run before. I hope that you like this type of information, and if you do, please give me a thumbs up. That signals to me that you like this video, that you want more of it, and that you will of course become an insider. It is totally free. It's all the best information I have. It's at themoneygps.com. You scroll down to the bottom, fill in your email address, and you get occasional emails from me.